Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. My name is Guru Sant Singh, and I was with Yogi Bhajan for over 30 years. And not until about 2009 did I realize that Yogi Bhajan was really a fraud. He was a rapist, he was a pathological liar, and he misrepresented the Sikh religion. Now, I've been very vocal and angry about how Yogi Bhajan lied to us and lied to me. He took advantage of my innocence when I became part of the group when I was 25. And now I've been uncovering some of the lawsuits that were brought against Yogi Bhajan. Now, this particular lawsuit that I just uncovered and spent many days and hours at the Santa Fe courthouse involves a yoga student, a female yoga student, who accused Yogi Bhajan of commanding her to have her fallopian tubes tied, which made her basically sterile. This occurrence happened around 1976. And interestingly, and I think very notably, the New Mexico Supreme Court eventually ruled in this woman's favor when Yogi Bhajan denied her the legal right to be able to file her lawsuit. So the New Mexico Supreme Court in 1985 said that she did have the right to file this lawsuit and that she could pursue these damages against Yogi Bhajan. This is all outlined in the lawsuit, which I have posted on Facebook for everybody to see. You can see some of the Supreme Court decision here that I put here on the YouTube video. But you can see more details about it there on Facebook. I'll put links to it. And basically, this woman says that Yogi Bhajan controlled every aspect of their lives. She was under the influence of this pathological liar and cult leader, Yogi Bhajan. So she brought this case, and eventually Yogi Bhajan entered into a confidential settlement agreement with her, where then she dropped the lawsuit. And this was only after there were depositions filed in the case. I researched it quite a bit and talked to people that were involved in this lawsuit. Now, after these depositions subpoenas were given to the people to give their depositions, like Yogi Bhajan and his henchmen, Yogi Bhajan entered into this settlement agreement. So this woman clearly had a dispute with Yogi Bhajan, but Yogi Bhajan refused to acknowledge it, and this is not the only case. There are many other cases where Yogi Bhajan was accused of very heinous crimes. In this case here, Premkakar sued Yogi Bhajan for rape and, among other things, sexual abuse, all kinds of really awful things. And she eventually settled with Yogi Bhajan too. And this was only after Yogi Bhajan was subpoenaed for his depositions. So there's a pattern here. Yogi Bhajan didn't want to give his deposition. And deposition, for all those who are not aware of it, is where somebody gives their testimony and they have to tell the truth under oath. So Yogi Bhajan just didn't want to give his testimony on any of these cases. Didn't want to tell the truth. I know he could have. but he got permission or excuses from his Khalsa doctors to get out of these depositions. And I was on security during the 1980s, so I know that he could have gone to these depositions. We would go to La Scala and to many of these fancy Beverly Hills restaurants and go shopping afterwards almost every day during these times when these lawsuits were going on back in the early 80s. So I know that Yogi Bhajan was capable of appearing in these depositions, but he just didn't want to tell the truth. So these are some concrete facts and lawsuits that were filed against Yogi Bhajan. You can see me here back in the 80s. I'm there with the brown jacket on there. And you can see here, ironically, Yogi Bhajan's got all these women around him, and the men are over to the one side. Yogi Bhajan was really interested in this tantric sex. And, you know, we didn't know it at the time, but Yogi Bhajan was having sex with these secretaries that he had, these female secretaries. I knew that he was spending the nights with these secretaries. I was on security duty, a lot of the time there in Los Angeles. But we just thought that he was celibate and that he was a spiritual teacher, and that he was immune from these sexual discrepancies. So Yogi Bhajan really did a job of making all of this secret and hiding this whole agenda. Now, the reason I want to come out and tell people about all of this is because I don't want to see other people, especially young yoga students, coming into this to fall prey to Yogi Bhajan's teachings, to these Kundalini yoga asanas and meditations and mantras that Yogi Bhajan taught and the 3HO people still teach. Here you can see some of the Yogi Bhajan people there worshiping Yogi Bhajan and this idol of Baba Siri Chand there in Espanola, New Mexico. And really these teachings were really about subsuming people into Yogi Bhajan's sect, or Yogi Bhajan's cult. They were all heavy breathing exercises, and they were oriented towards hypnosis. Used long, loud gong sounds and these mantras, and they're still being used by the 3HO people. And so the 3HO people are really under the spell of this rapist, Yogi Bhajan, who was really after getting people into his cult and keeping them there and kind of owning their souls, if you will. It was only by the grace of God and by our Sikh Guru's grace that I was able to escape from this really dangerous tantric cult that Yogi Bhajan created, and now his henchmen and these people that lead Yogi Bhajan's cult are still promoting. So for all those yoga students who are wondering about what Yogi Bhajan is really about, this is what it's about. It's a cult. You can see that Yogi Bhajan people bowing there at his death place and prostrating themselves before his death place. Yogi Bhajan lived a luxurious lifestyle. As I said, we would go to Beverly Hills every day when I was in security, and you can see there this Hari Jivan, who's one of his henchmen there, who he was eventually charged by the Federal Trade Commission for a field of schemes, they called it, where he was ripping off these old people by selling these gems at exorbitantly high prices and telling them untrue things about their investment quality. So Yogi Bhajan was involved in all of this. He would come where I was working there for Hari Jivan in this toner room and tell us that there's no karma on the phone. Anyway, I admit that I bought into all of this. The only thing I have to say is I was young and vulnerable, and I thought that he was a real spiritual teacher. But in fact, he was really after these young yoga students and to own their souls. And he wanted the sex power and to have his name aggrandized for thousands of years into eternity, basically. And the Yogi Bhajan followers continue to worship Yogi Bhajan, as you can see those in the father pictures. There is this other Hari Jivan that I knew back in the 1980s and worked with in these toner boiler rooms, as they call them. And now he's got these followers of his putting petals at his feet, which is really, it's very, very bad. You can see his followers there putting petals at his feet as he goes up to speak and to give these lectures about this Tantric and Kundalini yoga. This guy spent 18 months in federal prison for fraud. And now he's going out and preaching all of these fraudulent teachings of Yogi Bhajan. So beware of this Yogi Bhajan and his group. They're really just interested in subsuming you into their tantric cult. Now these are pictures of Yogi Bhajan's drawings, which Yogi Bhajan gave to me. And he wanted me to promote his tantric sex yoga, basically. It's very disturbing. And now that I think about it, it's really something that I was naive to get into, and it's really only, like I said, by the grace of Sikh gurus that I was able to escape from this tantric sex-energizing cult that Yogi Bhajan was all about. You can see here these phallic symbols and drawings that Yogi Bhajan was really into drawing. He's written power there. Yogi Bhajan was really against humanity. He wanted to rid humanity of any kind of moral teachings. You can see here these phallic drawings. He even equates God, he's put there with these phallic drawings that he's made here. It's just very, very disturbing. And what's disturbing to me now that I've really understood real Sikhi is that Yogi Bhajan really used the Sikh religion and misrepresented it. Here you can see how the Yogi Bhajan followers there in Espanola bring the Siddhi Guru Granth Sahib, which is our Sikh holy book, to be presented there, and they bring it right in front of the this large tantric painting of Yogi Bhajan. And every day they do this. It's very, very bad. This is just, that painting just looms over their Sikh Gurdwara there. And now they're creating this huge image, bronze statue of Yogi Bhajan for his 10th anniversary of his death. And no doubt they'll be adorning it and garlanding it with flowers and prostrating before it. So these are very disturbing things that continue to go on in the 3HO group. You can see there Yogi Bhajan looming over these people. And Yogi Bhajan has got these yoga students thinking they should bow to these idols and murtis there. And it's completely against the Sikh teachings. I'm fortunate to be able to realize that. Yogi Bhajan even had Hindu last rites performed for him. And the Yogi Bhajan people, they sell parts of his garments like artifacts and something like the Catholics used to do back in the Middle Ages, and really venerate Yogi Bhajan and put him on this pedestal as being like a guru. which he was really, like I said, just a rapist and had this hidden agenda of controlling people's souls and getting them involved in all of these occult practices. So why do people buy into this? Well, I think a lot of times people want a fast way to salvation. They want a fast way to get rid of their problems. And they think that by following a cult leader that they can get rid of these problems. And really, Yogi Bhajan was just misleading them into these occult practices. Now, this is a little video of how Yogi Bhajan told us to worship his picture. You can listen to this and see just how hypnotic Yogi Bhajan was in his preaching. Okay, listen to this. So you can see there how Yogi Bhajan told us to worship his picture. He was very, very into this aggrandizement of his own self. Now, it's very interesting. I've done some more research about how Yogi Bhajan's followers continue to worship him. They continue to venerate his words. And in fact, in this recent settlement agreement that the Yogi Bhajan people made with some people, they were suing each other about these billions of dollars of their Yogi Bhajan enterprise like Yogi Tea. They agreed not to criticize Yogi Bhajan in this agreement. They agreed to teach only how Yogi Bhajan taught the Sikh religion and this Kundalini yoga. So essentially, if anything disagrees with Yogi Bhajan, the Yogi Bhajan people have to follow Yogi Bhajan's way. Now, in the Sikh religion, we have what's called a Sikh code of conduct. And many of the things Yogi Bhajan did was against the Sikh code of conduct. And so in this instance, where they've signed on to this agreement, this includes SikhNet and the other 3HO organizations, they have to follow Yogi Bhajan's teachings and what Yogi Bhajan said. So this means that if there's any discrepancy with the Sikh code of conduct or this, our Siddhi Guru Granth Sahib as Sikhs, then they have to follow Yogi Bhajan's way. So this shows you how they're really followers of this cult. Now, this is another thing I want to point out, how Yogi Bhajan was fraudulent in his teaching of Kundalini Yoga. There was a great study, it's an academic study by Philip Dislepi, who interviewed a lot of Yogi Bhajan, ex-Yogi Bhajan followers, and came up with the conclusion that Yogi Bhajan made up most of what he taught, and that he stole some of the things too from other teachings and conformed him to his way of thinking. And my belief is that that was all about trying to make something that would get people into his cult, these mantras and all these things. You can see he's very hypnotic when he was talking. Now, this is another book I want to point out that's very good. It's called Sikhism and Tantric Yoga. It's by this Dr. Shalochan Singh, who spent months with Yogi Bhajan. And I highly recommend this book. He really revealed the truth about what Yogi Bhajan was up to. Now, I also wrote a book called Confessions of an American Sikh. And I also talk about my experiences in this book. It's available for only 99 cents on Amazon. It's gotten a lot of good reviews. And I'll even send you a free copy if you don't want to pay the 99 cents. Just, I want people to understand what Yogi Bhajan was really about. All right, well, thank you for your time, and I hope you watch some of my other videos, and write me, call me if you have any questions. ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ